This is day number 69 of the Arukh HaShulchan OC. If you'd like to sponsor a share of Arukh HaShulchan OC or more, please contact me directly. It would be very much appreciated. Today we are starting with Siman Mem, Sif Aleph. We are going through to Siman Mem Aleph somewhere. I'll tell you a second. Mem Aleph Sif Gimel. Okay, Siman Mem. Also, you may not hang tefillin, from a nail or such like. Whether it's the batim where we are hanging down and there's the straps which are hung on the nail, whether the straps are hanging down, and the batim are on a nail or on a platform or whatever. This is degrading when they're hanging in the air. Rosh, Ochsim Ratzua, that not included in this is when you put on the shell Rosh and you hold on to the strap. But Rosh totally bavir and the bias is hanging in the air. Rosh and they put on his head. That's in order to put them on properly. Something we take them out. When the straps are hanging. That's also the way to take them off. But person should see. Be meticulous, and this is something which I myself am not sufficiently meticulous and doing myself in. You grew our karka, the straps should not fall and drag on the ground. So to be able to film occasionally, just by happenstance, and the rituals are tlios, the straps are hanging down, laced lumba. It's not promised because that is the normal derech. But the other way, but to hold the straps and the tefillin should be dangling. Also, that is forbidden even on occasion, unless again it's in the process of putting on the shorosh. Also, now let's hang them on a peg. Whether it is so, I guess until now everything he was talking about was not hanging them on a peg. It was hanging them in your hand. Evidently that's the case. And now he's talking about hanging them on a peg. So it says, for it's clear whether the tefillin is on the peg and the straps are hanging down, or where the straps are on the peg, and the bottom are hanging down. And so it says in Brachos Tav Chav Dalet, someone who hangs his tefillin, his life will dangle. I know this sounds better. So who dangles his tefillin, his life will dangle. And those who expound the verses found a hint to that in where it says in Varim Chav Chesed L'Ktochacha, your life will be dangling in front of you. That is the person who dangles his tefillin. Not some case, but if you put them already in their pocket, in the sack, and then you hang the sack, mutter, that's not a problem. Then can be done, that's not degrading. Sevator gam chaygav no. So sevator also you can't hang in that manner. In other words, like you see the tefillin, the zeklach, which are carrying shoulder bags. So you can't do that with the sevator. The sevator tziro rak hanacha ba'aron or b'teva. The sevator either has to be in the aron or on the bima. A sinner. This is interesting. Hanging on a silver chain. Maybe people wore like an amulet. I don't know. Also, that's when the chain is hanging to the sitter. This is something which you see from time to time, that people have keychains, and the keychains have a pocket on it, and they have a tillim in that pocket or sitting in that pocket. That's okay. Just like it's about other Sibir Kodesh as well. Mr. Burning said there's something to have a minute to put a shorosh on a shelf at the time that they're putting on. I'm not sure how exactly that works. Base chedesh b'tefillin, a room which has tefillin, also shamish b'mitah, so one is not allowed to have marital relations there. I should say until you take them out. Oh, yanichem kli b'tokli, and put them a vessel into a vessel. And the second vessel has to be one which is not their customary designated vessel. If it is their designated vessel, in other words, if you have the tefillin inside your talus zekel inside a plastic covering. Perhaps that would be considered to be one keli. But in Pirs Begin Alam, if you spread a cloth on top of them, even though it's not on the bottom, only on top, mutar, that's permissible. But talis don't be keli. Putting them inside the talis is not called their keli. And therefore, those people who put the tefillin zekel always inside the tefillin talis zekel, the talis zekel becomes the kli of the tefillin as well. It's not effective. So you need another kli on top of that. Whether the plastic covering which many people have is specifically a separate kli or not is an interesting question. I would assume before it seemed to me a moment ago that perhaps not, but now I think maybe it is because that plastic thing is not meant really to hold the tefillin, but to protect the talis zekel. Could be. Yes, maybe Shem Ein Yuchad Lem Shita Mutar. They're both not Yuchad for the tefillin. Then that's obviously permissible. And if you can conceive of such case, if the inner keli is not specifically designated, and even the outer keli is specifically designated, that's also okay. I guess if you put like the tefillin inside a plastic bag, inside your the talis zekel, that would be okay. Whatever, he doesn't really explain that. Just let's look in your there. The Mishnah Berurah says, Chumashim or Sidurei Tefillah or others for him, whether they're written or printed, they all have Kedusha, and you need to have Keli B'soch Keli. The Mishnah Berurah also says, the same thing applies to obviously attending one's needs in the presence of these Tashmisha Kedusha. The Mishnah Berurah says, brings the Chacham says, by Mezuzah or others for him, if you made initially 2 kelim, to consider consider them a keli to a keli, such as you put them in the mezuzah in paper and then put it inside its mezuzah holder, it's mutter, because that was his initial intent, and that would also seem to be the case as we were swinging for about the talis cover of plastic. It's literally made to be a keli of a tall keli. Mishnah Berurah writes, if you use a talis inside the talis zekel to wrap the tefillin zekel, that's okay because the talis is not their keli. The Bir Halacha explains that the Bir Halacha says that that I guess since you could cover the talis with the tefillin with the talis, so therefore he didn't bring down the those who say that the talis zekel is a separate keli because it's better to wrap it in the talis. Gimel. Putting them inside another vessel, you can't put them underneath your feet. The zel design gadol tefillin that's very degrading to the tefillin. So nicham afilim rasho sav. You also shouldn't put under your head. Afilim b'keli to keli, even in a vessel within a vessel. Imunachim mamish keli rasho if they're literally under your head. Shkem rishon menachalem and rei b'avi b'sayin to use them as a pillow in that manner is degrading. Afilim nishtani mo regardless of whether his wife is with him or not. You can put them by your head, but not under your head. Then it's even if his wife is not with him and there's no issue of potential relations, it's mutar. It's even mutar within one keli. You don't need keli but so keli. If his wife is with him, sorry keli but keli, then you have to have a vessel within a vessel. And the pillow, which if you put like a tefillin zekel into your pillowcase, that's considered a keli. Even if you put it under the pillowcase, under the pillow, that would be the same thing. The dan, you should know the ishlimo. What does it mean? His wife with him. So it's when the intent of his wife being with him is to have relations. But if not, he and me even they're in the same bed, that has the status of his wife not being with him. Nicham Amito connected Sito to put them in your bed opposite the side of your torso. Also, it's also going to talis like also just so you're putting underneath your feet. The Gamtito have a bizarre also put on the side is the grain for the tefillin. Yesh, because of those who write the Niach and talis al tefillin have a bizarre tefillin that put talis on a tefillin is the grading for the tefillin. Achzeh einu elo barachasam bekis. That's only where the tefillin is already in its case, I'm not sure. In other words, you put the tefillin inside your talis and the talis on top of that, so that's degrading to the tefillin. But I was saying when you put the talis as a covering for the tefillin, or in order to safeguard to validate the mutter, is definitely permissible. So today, of course, we very often do use a larger talis case, which is meant also to hold the tefillin. The tefillin ends up a little talis because we put the talis first, but that's the way it was designed. So since it's designed that way, that would not be a problem, I believe. In the event of one of the events with the tefillin has to be covered, the truth has to be covered and clay with clay. Nafkina called sheyesh tiklut tefillin. Obviously, nafkina would be if you have a sack for the tefillin, or a tefillin chutz latik and the straps are outside the sack. Kanohug. That's why they made tefillin sackcloth back then. L'chein k'shemachasel or keli, Therefore, when you put upon them another vessel. The keli, it's okay. The tefillin v'lo retzuos. The retzuos are only under one vessel, not two. Niyat ikar k'peda b'tefillin v'lo retzuos. The primary concern is the tefillin, not the retzuos. Kamakol l'maaseh yesh l'yisashev. Even though it's not clear, one could question this. Achladina nirakei that the retzuos do not require keli b'soch keli. He brings down Rataz who writes that ishto imo is also when he doesn't have intention to have relations, which is obviously the chumrah. He brings down the brackets. So I don't think he obviously does not hold that these are ikar halacha. Mishnah writes that even if they're not in a keli at all, but you put them in a way that they're not going to roll around to the sides, such as you put them between your upper pillow and your lower pillow. Evidently, they use two pillows underneath your head, not opposite your head. That's okay. It brings down that the Eli Rabbah is machmir, like the Rambam, that you need a keli besides the pillow. But the Bir Agra and the Derech Chaim and others are makel. Bilachim makes the name Mati Yehuda, that only if they agreed between the two of them, the husband and wife, they're not going to have relations. That's okay. That's not ishto imo. But if there is no agreement, the refrain, then that's called ishto imo. Mr. Brewer brings down that the Taz, which we mentioned, that it's the Iman's wife is in bed without any intent to have relations. It's also to put film keli to keli because you might forget to have relations, and he was more inclined to be machmir because he says that it's mashma that way from the biagro. And Shmuel says that sometimes you have to be careful not to put the film next to you because sometimes it's going to turn over and lie on them. And the biagro discusses that at greater length. Back to Arukh HaShulchan Dalit. The Dalit should know the zesh kasav l'tachas marshosov. That when he said that underneath his head, not opposite head, it's permissible. That's only if you need to keep in your bed because you want to preserve them from mice. Yeah, there are no mice around, and you can put them somewhere else in the room. It's not proper to put it in bed, even next to your head. Unless it's not directly, I should say not in close proximity to your head, such as it is higher by 3 tvachim, or number 3 tvachim, or lower by 3 tvachim than your head. Because even to sit with phone on the same shelf, on the same level, it is a bizayon. It's degrading, which causes you to there assuming reish by base. We put tefillin into the beam on shul b'table safso shayoshim. Well, actually, we put them in a box, not the beam because he says that table safso shishma love. This box is a bench on which people sit. Certainly, as Ganke Chalal Shal Shlochim also has to be airspace. 3 Tvachim. May Pesach HaTev from the opening of the box. Shalamala on top. Ad Ha Tefillin. Until Ufachos Chalal Tefach at the very least it has to be Tefach of space. Located out of Kiyoshu Tefillin, not it's like you're sitting on Tefillin. Chem Besum Shal Svarim should be Ksiva. So okay, he's not machna like the Mishnah Berurah, like I said before, by Svarim which are printed. Only by Svarim which are written. Arukh HaShulchan Shita said printed Svarim have no intrinsic kedusha. He says this is the custom to make these gaps in the cavity under the bench, and you should not deviate from this. Mishnah Berurah says that if the bench is nailed into the wall, then you can sit on the bench because it makes it more of a permanent keli as opposed to sitting on the tefillin. Mishnah Berurah says about nefesh, he should be machmir even b'shas atchak, not to sit on top of the tefillin. But again, according to him, when it's not nailed into the wall, because you have to be meticulous in preserving the kedusha of tefillin. Hey, shachar v'shiva should be tossed up tefillin. If you forgot, and our relations were with tefillin, lo yachos lo b'tzua, koshkem b'tefillin, you should not hold the belt, the strap, so you have to tefillin themselves, until you wash. Unless you're down Masconio saying, because your hands are very busy. Uvadai nogu b'makom shel dios adai. They definitely must touch place which requires washing. And after you wash your hands, you should remove them until you remove whatever ejaculation came out. And then you're allowed to wear them. The Baal Keri mutar b'tefillin. The Baal Keri is mutar to put on tefillin. Being yoshim b'tefillin Baal Keri. If you fell asleep with tefillin and you had an emission, lo yachos b'batim, you should hold on to the batim. Elo yachos b'tzuros, hold on to the straps. Well, marriage to some and remove them. Anshi kanech hakem beloved to remove the ejaculation from upon yourself. V'yitol yadav and wash your hands. Somebody is going to a long and set meal. Cholzon takes up his food. Michal Shulchan puts him on the table. Ad shas bracha until bir chasam mazon. The chas meal then he puts it on. But if you're snacking, like having a cup of coffee, then ain't enough to take off your tefillin. That is according to their you're allowed to eat an occasional sacrifice. But he says, That's going there, maybe they went an entire day to the low that he done. Not for us. Nearly the Lidon, for us it's appropriate even to snack it. I believe though the minute is, at least I hope the minute is, to drink coffee and such like, tea while wearing tefillin. Back to the Vermont Keli, we told Keli, a book, the way I understand it from my recollection, it could be I'm making a mistake, but the way I understand recollection, a bookshelf, even if it's not a covered bookshelf, as long as it's a Kliyetz Asui L'Nachas, it's a large bookshelf, which is stationary, not movable, that's considered a Keli, and not a Keli Muchalakachim, that would be Keli to Keli if you put the tefillin on the shelf, even though the shelf is open in front. That doesn't necessarily have to be closed, as long as it is a large object which is independent of the rest of the room. But certainly it's appropriate, I'm sure, to Yimachmir to have a covered cupboard which would fill in under those circumstances. And same thing for Sfarim with a bedroom, they should be inside a covered cabinet if it were possible, clearly. Okay, Mem Aleph. Dina no say Masa Rosh, somebody who has a burn on his head. How she conducts it with film. Go to Aleph, go see him Mitzia. Tanya, I know say Masa Rosh, a person has a burden on his head. And feeling rotten toast, the film get crushed, also. Not it's mutter. Beza Masa Amru, with what kind of load we're talking? Masa Sharba Kabin. Masa of at least 4 kab. Tanya Chiamoti Zevla Rosh, somebody who takes out the fertilizer on his head. With film Rosh, with this fertilizer on his head, you should not remove the film to the side, and not tie the film rosh on his hand. Because that's degrading. Avokosha is row, but you tie the film rosh on your upper arm b'makom tefillin. Yishum the because that's obviously the place to fill. Shum the Rabbi Shila Amru afilu mitachas shalohem. Even their the tefillin inside their kerchief. He says Resh Kosim Shalechem, which would be very different meaning of his kerchief of bread. Aslan Yacha Rosh Yesh Bo Tefillin. You can't put on your head when you have tefillin in it. The Kama Marabai Riva the Pumbedisa, I guess that's the measure of the forbidden load on your head. Akal Shagmar. Be as it may, says Arukh HaShulchan base. Masha Rabbi Shila Cholei Kodim sounds of Rabbi Shila, who says Afilu Mikpachas Shalen or Afilu Mikpachas Shalechem, argues on the previous thing about the Zeno. A klomar, the Afilu Masa Kal, is saying it's not just something heavy, but even light load, like a kerchief also. The came that buy him for his verb, since a buy comes to interpret what he means. Kaimel came. It's that was the way we hold. So that's around Perikach because of Nosi Maso Rosho. This being Ram holds that somebody who's wearing has burners on his head, Cholet Tefillin Shel Rosh. He takes the Tefillin Shel Rosh until he's finished with the burden. Even a kerchief he was not allowed to put on a head which has filled. But he can't put his hat over his tefillin. It's never Shnosi coming out Rosho. The hat he always wears in his head. Ain't be Zion, there's no degradation. A bit of the hat is on top of the tefillin, which is Mabusho, because this is his clothing. This is our custom. Either on the contrary, his way of causing Shalosh to adhere properly to its proper place. Rabbeinu says the Tikvar of Shulchan Aruch, but he says copies the Rambam, Sim Avodah B'Shar K'Tein Rishon Gon Krovo Mitznebes. So what you're going to put on your head like a small hat or a large hat, Mutter is permissible Akal Lashona. Mishnah Berurah says obviously even if it's a large hat, you have to make sure that it doesn't push the tefillin off its proper place. Kivo Avarif Arosh. I think Gama Bryces Gam Divrei Rabbi Shila. They copied down both the Brisa, which talked about the large burden, and the words of Rabbi Shila, but the Rishonim say lo pli cloud. So if they bring down both, Rishonim say they must not Rif and Rosh must so they don't argue. They made various different suggestions for distinctions. Yesh Mishor, some say that Brisa Mari B'Di'evet. Brisa talking about after the fact. Shekvar Noisi Amasu, but it's already wearing the burden. Or Misha Parnasa Bekach, or somebody who is his Parnasa. Possession Arbakam, that the measure is for Kaf. She'll say about the preferential approach, preferred approach. And even a kerchief will be also came Shana Parnasa Bekach, since it's not his livelihood. But fertilizer is always so shouldn't be so. So Bryce of Chil, that's what the Bryce of Chil says. Some say that Bryce of Marisha Mazda Kfaro show. The Brisa where the burner is ready in his head, wrote something tefillin, he wants to put on tefillin. The Oz, Pachas, Arbakam, Mutter, then if it's a small burden, it's okay. Varak, Zevel also, only fertilizers also. And she'll mark Shatula Rosho. She'll start with tefillin already on your head. For Rotso, Niyach, Masolehem. You want to put a burden on top of them. The Oz, I feel me, Pachas, lesson, then even the kerchief is prohibited. Yeshu appears, some say that Brisa, low, Mari Cloud, Shamaso Rosho. Bryce is not talking at all about where the burden on his head. Now, Masim Mushalach, rather the burden is dangling behind it. Because it's tied to a rope which is on his head. And the rope will dislodge or at least push on the tefillin when the load is 4 kabin in size. The best answer means the ones that distinguish between Chadchil and Dieret, and so to write, he says here in the brackets, the Bach and the Drisha.